Hello, my friends. How you doing? It's your friend Phil here, project management trainer and coach. I hope you're doing awesome. Today, we're going to be talking about how to be a PMP rockstar. Lots of people might be on the journey to succeed as a PMP exam candidate. And I'm going to be sharing with you how you can do that. But here's the deal. If you are truly trying to get certified, I would like you to dial in for a discussion. How about that? Why don't you pick up the phone, call in if you truly mean business. I'll give you some tips and ideas. I typically don't have conferences on YouTube where you can call in. If you do want to call in, you can find the numbers to your right if you're looking at your screen, and we can have a conversation about how you can do this. And I will be giving you some tips, some tricks, some ideas, some guidelines about how you can do it, how you can become a PMP rockstar. But more importantly, I would like to address any specific questions that you have, any specific barriers. So this meeting was actually held primarily with the Savage on Saturday team members in mind, but it seems like I was the only one who got the meeting invite. Ouch. They're probably still enjoying their Thanksgiving turkey, right? Well, if you have any questions about the PMP exam and how you can be a boss on it, I would really like to answer your questions. So why don't you chat in? Chat into me pronto. Chat into me right now. Or pick up the phone. What are you waiting for? I challenge you to pick up the phone and call. Let's talk about your problems. You see, too many people say no one wants to help. Then when your buddy Phil comes on to help, no one calls in. No one wants to call in. Oh, I see someone has called. Let's see who's on the phone. One of our friends might be here. Let's see which of our friends this is. Who's on the call?
Yeah, it's Joe Kirkland here.
Hey there, Mr. Kirkland. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Well, I really appreciate you calling in, and I know that it's the day after Black Friday. What did you get up to for Black Friday?
Actually, I'm calling you from all the way up north here in Alberta.
Oh, in Canada. I see. Oh, nice. You guys don't do Thanksgiving then?
We do it a month earlier, though.
Okay. Oh, really? Okay. Nice. Do you do like similar things, turkey and all that stuff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, same thing. Just our own version of football, though. Or
nice.
Hockey.
Oh, it's hockey. I see. Well, very good. I appreciate you calling in. It's good to have you calling in. And what's the time in Alberta? You guys on East Coast time, are you, or what?
No, Mountain. So it's 2:10 right now.
Okay. Oh, it's exactly my time. So right up, you guys are probably just directly above us. So that's interesting, huh? Okay. So when is your D-Day for the PMP exam?
It's actually on the 29th.
Okay. 29th.
My question was more. I've done the RETA, I've done the PMBOK, and I'm wondering, would it be useful to just kind of put that aside and just focus on videos and practice exams at this point?
So if your exam is on the 29th, you got 5 days left, right?
That's right.
Okay. So you got 5 days left. What you need to do is focus on the big ticket items. So for me, the big ticket items will be those things that you are absolutely sure you are going to be tested on. In other words, narrow the lens, narrow down the focus of the lens to develop project charter, identify stakeholders, close project or phase. Because you know right there, that is 20% right there, those three. So if I were you, I would get those two process groups down pat, out of the way. Make sure you read everything under the sun regarding those. Let me show you something I've been teaching my students in the past number of days. In the past number of days, I've been teaching my students these, I'd call them gold nuggets in every process. You see, if you go, for example, to page 183 in the book, in the guide, if you go to page 183 and you're taking a look at define activities, let's read. It says, define activities is the process of identifying and documenting the specific actions to be performed to produce the project deliverables. That's very helpful. That's very beneficial. But then it goes a step further, and then it says, the key benefit of this process is that it decomposes work packages into schedule activities that provide a basis for estimating, scheduling, executing, monitoring, and controlling the project work. Now that is gold, because to me, not everyone is going to be aware of the key benefits of every process. And that could help you on a lot of the questions. Just knowing the key benefit of each process, it will help you shoot down those options that are bogus options. If you know the key benefit of a process really well, that helps you in your studying. So for all of the 49, as you're studying in the big run-up for the 29th, if I were you, I would go over the key benefits of each process. I will go over, like I said, develop project charter, identify stakeholders, close project or phase, get those down pat. And then in the economies of scale, I will then attack 10 processes that could give me a 31% payoff. Executing, go over executing, you know, hone in on whatever is one of those curveballs, you know, that throws you for a loop on executing. For me, I'll just speak for myself. On some of those PMI exams, it's been those little differences between the techniques used for conflict management or the 5 stages of team development and the little nuances in the language there, you know, things like that. If I were you, I would hone in on executing. So I would do the initiating and closing stuff, and then all of those benefits, the benefit of each process, maybe spend a day on that. Then I would spend a day on executing, just hone in on those 10, because that's 31% of my test. I would spend a day piecing apart, monitoring and controlling, understanding the overarching flows. And then I would spend time going through planning. That would be my third choice, but I would start off with, you know, the biggest bang for the buck are those that give you 6.5% per process or 7% per process in closing, then executing, then monitoring and controlling, then planning, and then you're done. You know, I wouldn't keep reading and reading and reading. At this point, what I would want to do is hone in on everything that is important, like the low-hanging big ticket items. And then if I were you, hey, I'm not sure if you are in are you in our LMS by any chance?
No.
If I were you, seriously, this is what I would do. If you really truly mean to give the tires a good kick, this is what I would do if I were you, seriously, because there are many different options out there, you know, lots of the options you mentioned, which are all well and good. But if I were you, I would suggest going to the Praizion site, this one I'm showing right here. If I were you, I would go to this site, and then I would go under the PMP and CAPM exams, hit the 3 200 question full length. Honestly, if you can pass one of these mocks on your first try, I'll be able to get some good sleep knowing that you're going to dismantle the test, because it's a great litmus test.
Which website is the practice one?
Yes, let me chat this in right now. So if you go to the Praizion.com site, but you just go to that link, okay? If you go to that link, I'm telling you, those mock exams, phew, that's the last piece you need. I'm telling you, for let's kick the tires of all of those solutions you mentioned. Let's see how they hold up next to this mock exam. Because if they truly have done a great job with you, you'll be able to kill these mock exams, you know.
Okay, right on. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey, you're welcome.
One last question before I leave, Phil. I hear a lot of people complaining about, you know, the PMBOK and the whole process. At the end of the day, it's a prescription. It's a prescriptive document. A lot of people that have taken the exam, it's almost as if what PMI is trying to do is trick you into failing you. What are your thoughts on that? It's
Thank you very much.
Not about testing your knowledge. It's about testing to see if you can decipher their tricks. And that's what some people are really getting really frustrated with. That why are you trying to trick me when I'm just you're trying to ask a question on the prescription you just wrote?
First of all, let me just say, shoot me your email at support@praizion.com, because I'm going to send you some information. I may not go through and everything right now, but send me your email, and then, you know, I'll give you some additional information. But first and foremost, any professional exam is not a walk in the park. Any professional exam always narrows down choices to two predominantly. So while someone might look at it as trickery, the honest truth is it is testing your proficiency. Let me show you what a lot of people miss out on, because a lot of people don't know that the PMI, in their best interest, are coming clean to tell you what your exam is going to be based on. The PMI is not doing anything that is unfair in the serving of the exam. The exam is very, very specific to their rules, their terms. It's like that kid, you know, who goes to play in your house and takes his ball along, and when you upset him, he takes his ball and goes home. That's the PMI. It's their ball, and you got to play in a way they say you should play by their rules. And the rules, how do you know the rules? You need to take a look at the content outline. I say this ad nauseum on the channel. If people aren't looking at the content outline, they're not going to know what to expect. But this is what to expect. Okay, the PMI, they're not into trickery. It's very, very transparent. A lot of people fail because they have bad tutoring, to be honest. They don't have a mentor. They don't have a coach. They don't have someone telling them the truth. There are a ton of people that are getting 3, 4, 5 above targets. So if the PMI found that the health of the exam was unbalanced, they would have changed something. And I mean, this has happened in the past, back in 2006, 7, around that time period anyway. There were a bunch of people who had taken the test and they thought they had failed, but the PMI made a revision, and those people were now upgraded to passing the exam. So the PMI, they're not out to just make people fail. What they are out to do is test what I'm showing on the screen, which is the outline on which the exam is based. These are proficiencies that every project manager is expected to have. The reason why certain people fail is because they don't have these proficiencies. So it's a bit myopic to say they're out to trick people. They're not out to trick. PMI is very, very transparent. The PMI also have a document that enables you test people's, or build, I should say, people's proficiency in project management. It's called a competency framework. I don't know if you've heard of it. I would have shown it to you here, but I don't think I can bring it up. But if you went to Amazon, so if you went on Amazon and you looked for the PMI competency, project manager competency development framework, actually, let me show it to you here. Here it is. So if you take a look at this, Project Manager Competency Development Framework, 3rd edition, you can read this and understand, you know, in economies of scale, if I'm a PMP, if I'm a CAPM, what am I expected to know as a project manager, you know, straight up. So PMI are not trying to deceive people. The problem is people don't know enough about the PMP exam. Now, speaking about how pragmatic this is a very, very down-to-earth, pragmatic document that is put together to help people know what they're talking about without thinking or assuming. So it's very detailed, it's very excruciating, because you can easily take this stuff out of context if it is not well defined. So the PMI, they're just trying to help, you know, by putting this together in the PMBOK guide. Could it have been done better? Of course it could have been done better. All these standards could be done better. They could be done better to suit us, you know, or a large part of the population. A large part of people say there's too much information in the PMBOK guide. It's too verbose. It's just an exam. No, it's not. You know, it's hard. It's like tacit knowledge. You've read Managed Project Knowledge, right?
Yes.
This stuff, project management, in many instances is tacit knowledge. It is hard. This whole PMI journey is tacit knowledge in many instances. It's hard for one to explain how real and how sensible and how logical this stuff is, except you've been there, done that, which you have to a large degree, of course. That's why you're spending time and energy. But your colleagues or people who are saying this stuff is, you know, or people, you know, maybe not your colleagues, people who you know are saying this, it's because they don't have, I would say, the level of experience, you know, or maybe the patience or the sincerity, you know. I never look at a certification and say, and just dismiss it as it's not pragmatic. No, it's very pragmatic. I've lived this stuff. You see, I've lived this stuff in companies. I've lived this stuff in government agencies. I've seen it work in everywhere from pharmaceutical to healthcare to engineering to even gaming, making video games. A few meters away from this office, I was with a company making video games. This stuff, it does convert. Now, I think where some people are missing it is they're trying to throw the whole kitchen sink at their projects. PMI is not saying you have to use everything in the PMBOK guide. I think that's where some people are getting it wrong. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox. Like I said, shoot me an email. Otherwise, I'm going to spend 1 hour talking about this. But thanks so much for calling in. I really appreciate it. All right. Did that help answer your questions? Okay. So, folks, let us see. I think some of our friends might have joined on Tyra. How you doing, Tyra? I can see some of our friends on YouTube. And I see Dario. I didn't see your message, Dario, I'm afraid. So Tyra says, hey, Phil, hope all is well. I had situational questions on the exam that I feel like I need more guidance on how to apply the material. Very good question. Very, very good. Okay. I'll answer that question next. So in order to do that, let me bring up a whiteboard so we can just think out loud. Okay. Let me bring up a whiteboard. There are many different parameters, Tyra, when it comes to this. Many, many different parameters. Many things that can be spoken about, if you will. So let's break this down carefully. All right. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen with you in a moment. Oh, Daryl sent in a question. Good to see you, Daryl. How you doing? My goodness, you got out of 5 hours and Phil has dragged you back into the world of PMP. My goodness. Okay, Daryl is in our boot camp, and great to see Daryl again. Okay, so let's take a look at this question in focus. So I had situational questions on the exam. The first thing that jumps out at me, Tyra, situational questions. When you get these situational questions, let me show you the thing that should jump out at you. Situational questions, you know, the big word here is conversion. That's the big word, conversion. Because if you're not able to convert what is given over to what is in the PMBOK guide, there's going to be trouble, you see. So when it comes to situational questions, you want to be thinking, how can I convert the question to PMBOK process? Speak. You see what I mean? How can I convert this question to PMBOK process speak? In other words, you're a project manager on a project, blah, blah, blah. What should you do next? Let me give you a quick practical example of this. Let me bring up a practical example for you. Let me bring up a few questions that we played with earlier on. From procurement, we'll just take this. It's not that difficult, but it does present a good example of what I'm talking about. Okay, very simplistic, but it'll give you a good example of what I'm talking about. So let's do that. So Tyra, let's take a look at this set of questions here. Here we go. All right, so I typically give people 1 minute and 12 seconds to answer these. So here's a question anyway. You have been brought in to spearhead a project that has high visibility. You're in the process of deciding upon the contract delivery method for certain promising vendors you wish to advertise to. Which process does this describe? You want to take a shot at this, anyone? You're going to pass, Daryl. We're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen. Those of you on YouTube, if you want to join the live conference, you want to speak to me live, you want to go to that side of the box in YouTube, you're going to get the meeting information. You can dial in if you want, all right? So Daryl, yep, I am going to answer your question. I appreciate you asking, because typically when I'm on these calls, it's a sort of fire drill, you know, to get through content. But now I just want to answer questions. That's why I'm here. Thank you very much for your option. Chat it in. Anyone else want to go for it? Okay, so let's read. You are in the process of deciding upon the contract delivery method for certain promising vendors you wish to advertise to. I'm glad you chose A because it is the correct answer. You got it right. But how did you get it right, Tyra? There's a conversion that took place. You had to convert the words into a process. And this, even though simple, it underscores what happens in a lot of these questions. You're given a scenario and you're either asked, what should you do next? Or what should you do first? Same thing. Or what should you have done first? Or which tool and technique should you use? Everything that I have said, it goes back to conversion. So if you've got a strong conversion, you find it easy, just like you did just now. That was easy for you. Now, compared to the question, how does your conversion ability stack up? That is really what makes someone succeed on the exam, how they can convert the question, the scenario, into a process, and how much they really know that process. So a lot of people fail because they've got a very weak conversion from scenario to PMI speak. That's why, unfortunately. All right, let me show you one more question here, or a couple more. Let's play with a few of these questions. Here's another question. You have been brought in to spearhead a project that has a high visibility. I should have probably shared a poll, but I don't have my poll set up. So if you guys want to chat in, that's cool. Chat in if you want. Those of you on Zoom, thank you, Shri. Oh dear, Shri is here as well. I don't mean to take your whole Saturday, but thanks for chatting in, Shri. Daryl says, now I think the answer is B. Okay. All right. You've been brought in to spearhead a project that has high visibility. You're in the process of holding bidder conferences to better understand questions and concerns. Okay. So again, this is business as usual for you, Tyra. I'm sure you know this one, right? You definitely know this one. Questions and concerns. That's a dead giveaway right there, I tell you. But do you see what you're doing? You're reading the question and you're trying to make a conversion. Some people can make a conversion like that. Other people struggle to make the conversion because there's a lot of noise hindering the conversion. But if you're able to see through all of the trickery, question writer trickery, and you know, when I say trickery, let's get it straight. It's just a placeholder word for the difficulty of the question. You know, it's not trickery per se. No one's rubbing their hands in glee. I'm going to get them on this one. No, that's not happening. But what is happening is people really want to test, does Phil know what project management is? It reminds me of when I went to DHL, sat down and they were interviewing me and I was just giving them hopeless. You know, I feel sorry for those people. They must have wondered, why did we waste our time with this clown? Because I was just giving totally wrong answers and responses. I thought I knew project management, but I really didn't know the details, the intricacies, the language, the speak. It's one thing to say, oh, I'm a project manager, but it's another thing to know the lingo, to know the talk, the current lingo. You know, don't be like this Uber driver that I met and said, you have to be a construction manager to be a project manager. You can't just do that. So no. You don't want to be like that. Thank you very much, Puneet. Puneet you are on our PMP Power Review, right? I think you are. Mohanand, thank you for chatting in. And Tyra, thank you for chatting in. So everyone is saying B. You're right. Thank you very much, those of you on the actual webinar who chatted in. And you're correct. It is indeed conduct procurements. That's where bidder conferences are used. So these are very, very simplistic examples, of course. But again, it is to underscore making the conversion, Let's use one more question and try to make the conversion, because that's what's lacking. A lot of people can't make the conversion. You know, that's why they find difficulty. One more question, 1 minute. Thank you for confirming, Puneet. I was really happy that you were able to jump on the bandwagon because I know you watch this channel, and I can tell you when you come for that power review. My goodness, we're going to be going so deep into this stuff and hard and fast. So it's going to be fast and furious. You're going to enjoy it, I can assure you. Shri says, hello, everyone. I'm currently on Phil's bootcamp. Even if you can take his course for a few weeks, I would highly recommend taking it. It'll help you a lot in your PMP. Thank you, Shri. Shri is one of our students on the longer bootcamp that's been going on for, actually, Shri has been our student already for about 7 weeks thereabouts. So she's been on the first bootcamp round. She's on the second bootcamp round, and I know she's going to kill it. Mark my words. Come back, watch this video. You're going to hear me tell you that Shri is a PMP. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. All right. Everyone said A. So on a boot arrangement, blah, blah, blah. Then it says, which of these tools and techniques should most likely be used for the process? So you guys did well. You were able to read through it and eliminate those which are not correct, because you're about to transfer the system. Of course, you're in monitoring and controlling. You can shoot down everything else. So I show you all of this to underscore the process of passing the exam. The process of passing the PMP exam is one of conversion. And if you are able to convert, like I showed you, questions to process speak, you will get the answers right. Now, on our mock exam, the questions aren't as transparent. There's a lot more noise. It's a lot more challenging. And that's why I would recommend to anyone who is about to take the test, before you spend your $555, please take our mock exam. If you fail any of our mock exams on your first try, and there's 3 of them, it's basically $99 for 3. If you fail any of them, you need to close those gaps. You need to close those gaps, you see. So that would be my 2 cents. Okay, so that's the first part of Tyra's question. Let me answer the second part of the question. So Tyra, let me answer the second part of your question. Where is the question? Oh, there we go. So the second part of the question is, okay, so I had situational questions on the exam that I feel like I need more guidance on how to apply the material. So Tyra, the major thing you need to do is ask the question, what is happening? Which process is this? Which process does this describe? What is being done? I don't know if you heard the first caller. My advice was to read the benefits of each process. A lot of folks don't know the benefit of each process. Lots of the benefits sound very similar, but they're different. So I would advise that you do that, all right? So how do you apply the material? The application of the material, Tyra, is all in the conversion. Convert the question into process speak. And then the next thing is, what next? What should I do next? Or what is the best thing to do? Or what is most appropriate based on the given situation? Based on the given situation, what is most appropriate? Let me see if I can bring up one of these pesky questions here. So actually, if you go to Praizion and you go to that page that I just chatted in, the 3 mock exams. Actually, let me share my desktop with you guys so that you can see. If you go to this and you scroll down, go to mock exam sample, get the password, make sure flash is allowed, enter your email, and the password, put the password in, log in. Oops, wrong password. I get it wrong. I must have copied something I shouldn't. All right, there we go. All right, let's go in. All right, so here's a question. You are working in a project process group best known for checking products, realigning ineffective plans, and surveying the overall project health. Which of the following items is an input to all non-integration processes in this process group? So, I mean, you guys may have already taken these questions, but this is a great way to underscore what I'm talking about. So if you're looking at this, you're working in a process group known for checking products, realigning ineffective plans. So that immediately tells you you're in monitoring and controlling. You have to convert that first part. First of all, you need to know what a process group is. Some people might think knowledge. No, process group. So you need to be able to convert this speak into the process group. Then it says, which of the following items is an input to all non-integration processes in this process group? So you need to ask, which processes are those? And then when you have answered the which processes are those, of course, you know it's validate scope, control schedule, blah, blah, blah. So they're saying which of the following items is an input to all of those? Validate scope, control schedule, blah, blah, blah. See, which of these is? You see, that is how all of these problems are. Thank you, Sri, for your chat. So all this stuff, you're going to have to read it and convert it. I'm not going to do any spoilers. I'm just going to, show you a few questions for you to think about what I'm saying. Here's another one. All right, here's another one. You are currently working for a generic drug manufacturer, a market leader in generic drugs. Many of the blockbuster drugs are due for expiry. Oh, no, this is too easy. This is too easy. No. Okay, here's another one. You are project manager on a healthcare systems implementation project, which is not doing well. 3 million has been spent, but the total budget for the project is 4 million. It is a 5-month project with months assigned equal value of planned work. At month 3, the CPI is that. What is the value at this point for the entire project? So in other words, what are they asking you? You got to decipher what they're asking you to start with. At month 3, CPI is this. What is the value at this point for the entire project? What value are they talking about? See? Now, as you're looking at this, you're thinking, you're trying to convert. See? Conversion is happening. It's either weak or strong. See? When it comes to the inputs and outputs, I've found those to be quite straightforward. Here's another one. You're working on a project process known for producing deliverables. Boom, you already know which one it is. You've already created a picture. Oh, that's direct and managed project work, see? And then it says a co-output of this process is. So easy, you see? When you can make the conversion, it is easy. When you cannot, it becomes difficult. Here's another one. This one, it's often hard for students to deal with the 4-letter acronyms. So the word on the street is PMI doesn't use this anymore. I don't know if that's true. But people say PMI doesn't use this anymore. How do I know? I don't know. I don't care. I just need to know BCWS, plan value, ACWP, actual cost, BCWP and value. It becomes easier. If you know what is being spoken about, it's easy. If you don't, you got a problem. Sometimes you know the words, but you cannot make the conversion. And that's why I go back to conversion. What you do want to find is gaps in your conversion thinking process. A lot of people have the knowledge, but they've got gaps in their conversion process. Let me show you one other thing that I think could really help anyone who is tackling the exam. Thank you guys for guessing. So for For the exam, something else I would recommend is the strike out. I've talked about this so many times. Oh my gosh. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I'm beginning to think I'm boring you guys with it. But Tyra, I'm not sure how much of the strike out functionality you use. I had a student way back who started trying to pass the exam. His company sent him for training, PMP, and then he eventually found Praizion. Long story short, this student took the exam 5 times. On his 5th try, how did he pass on his 5th try? This is what he said. I read the email a few days ago on this channel. But what he said, without the strikeout, he wouldn't have made it on his 5th try. What made all the difference was the strikeout functionality. So if you haven't taken note of it, I hadn't. I've been going to the Prometric Test Center to take various exams. It wasn't until someone called my attention to it, Phil, you might want to look into the strikeout functionality. I'm like, oh, never heard of that. When I went to take my ACP exam, this is like over a decade after I took the PMP, I realized, oh, there's some pretty cool functionality in here, You got highlighting, you got strikeout. These are tools that I think really make a difference. And this student swore by it. So, I mean, if I'm looking at something like this, how to use the strikeout functionality? Well, taking a look, it says, you have been involved in developing various plans and project artifacts to complete the front-end planning phase. You see, let me talk about this for a second. Front-end planning phase, that is a popular one used in construction speak. Now, if you found something like that on a question, don't let that throw you off. Just read it as to complete the planning phase. Why do you care about front end? I don't know what front end is. Forget it. Front end obviously means done on the front end to prevent problems. But, there's a lot of noise. And I'm speaking specifically to Tyra's question. There's a lot of noise that could hinder your understanding of the question. You got to go above the noise. Forget the noise and focus on, okay, I know what planning phase means. I don't know what this is, but I'm not going to let that bother me. All right. And then it goes further to say, in your firm, okay, you've been involved in developing various plans and project artifacts to complete the front-end planning phase in your firm. Which of the following items is an output of the planning process group processes? So, boom, immediately you guys already know the answer to this, but you'll be amazed. A lot of people take this mock exam and they fail this. So anyway, the planning process group processes, which is an output, cost forecasts. It cannot be that because this is an output of monitoring and controlling. It is not WPI because, again, that is from a monitoring and controlling process. And it can't be this. You see how you eliminate. You have to eliminate. Now, where it becomes difficult, you can use your highlighting function. You can use a highlighter to highlight something that I'm not going to throw that away just yet until you get to the correct answer. So these tools on the exam, they're helping you, Tyra. They're helping you make the conversion smoother. Okay? They're helping you make the conversion smoother. Let me go back to your question here because I am not done with it. Okay, here we go. Okay, what do you suggest on how to tackle these questions? So only Phil can spend 20 minutes to answer a one-line question. It's because it's very deep. You cannot just rush over answering a question like this. I needed to give it the right attention. So as far as attacking the questions, Tyra, it goes back to my initial comment here about It goes back to my initial comment about conversion. You gotta make the conversion as smooth as you can. Okay. When you have converted, you know, there are many steps. One is the conversion, but you're not done. That's just one part of solving the problem. You know, you make the conversion, but the next thing you need to be concerned about is following on to make the right choice. So there's a lot of things at play, making a conversion and then having the right knowledge to follow through. And the only way you get there, to be really honest, is by going through step by step. I tell people, listen to your buddy Phil. Seriously, I'm not trying to be overbearing or anything. People think I am. I'm not. When I say follow the steps, people think, you know, what does he know? I'm smart, you know, and I tell folks, obviously this is not you, Tyra, because we've been on the journey together, but some people think I'm just trying to give them extra work. No, I'm not. I'm not trying to give them extra work. I'm trying to help. So when I tell folks, you know, follow step by step, follow these things step by step, some folks listen, others don't. You know, so these building blocks, you know, if I'm going to put it in 5 easy steps, I'll say study all the guide. That would be my step number 1. Study all the guide. Some people don't study all the guide. You know, if like I'm a doctor trying to find out why someone has a toothache, I'll say you got to study all the guide. Someone says, Phil, which guide? This one? Anyone telling you, oh, PMBOK guide is a big old waste of time. I got a study guide off. You want to just turn them off. Don't even let them finish the sentence. Read the thing. Seriously. Read the thing not from front to back or back to front. Just read it in its entirety and take notes and ask questions. When I say study all the guide, take notes. Take notes. A lot of people don't even read it, let alone take notes. Take notes and please ask questions. Please ask questions. Please ask. You're not bothering your buddy Phil, those of you on the course, if you ask questions. Ask the question, for goodness sake. I'd rather you ask the question than you didn't. Do you know how much I've learned from students' questions? A boatload of stuff. I've become even better in answering questions because of people's questions. If you didn't ask a question, I wouldn't have been able to answer more difficult questions. So take notes, study all the guide, ask questions. Step 2 is your study guide. Your study guide, I need you to read the study guide as well. What am I talking about? This one. A lot of people say, Phil, can I buy this study guide? I'm like, look, don't ask me about stuff I don't have any jurisdiction over. I don't know about that. But if you're one of our students, sign up for our training, you better be reading that Project Management Essentials book. You better be reading it. Read it, go through all of the examples. There are a lot of examples in here, various documents, various plans, okay, various things that you should be aware of. Read them, understand them, okay? The third thing that I recommend, and all of these, you could use this as a checkbox and say, did I do that? Did I do that? The third thing I would say is the videos. Videos, watch. And I'm not talking about the YouTube videos alone. Those are like your snack. So when I come on here to train and give you examples like this and ideas, that's a snack. But you want to watch the main course. Watch all of the videos on the learning management system. All of the videos. Let me show you what I mean. I know A lot of folks may not have been exposed to this, but it's important I show you. Otherwise, I'll be giving you half of the story. I don't want to give you half of the story. I want to give you the full picture. So if you log on to our system, our learning management system, the Praizion learning management system, I'll show you here in a second what it looks like. But if you log on to our system right here, log on to our system, all right? We got a set of videos about taking the exam, completing the application. That on its own is like over an hour, learning how to do that right, okay? We don't leave any stones unturned. Then if you go to the first section here, okay, it looks like, 14 chapters. But when you open each chapter, this is so important. You know, I was with one of our students on a call, and I played that call yesterday. And what he was sharing was, this is so in-depth and detailed. He spent thousands of dollars going for some boot camp. And when he got done, he knew practically nothing. But when he came on this system and started going through every item, step by step, not being impatient, but just going over one at a time. First of all, you got the 1 minute plus summary. Then you've got the concepts, the trends, the tailoring, considerations for agile for every knowledge area. And then watch this, watch this, watch this. Very few curricula will give you a section per process. This one gives you a section per process. Now, I'm taking the pain to show this because I know a lot of people fly over different processes. They didn't really nail them down. If you are one of our students and you haven't watched these videos, you paid for them, you ain't watching them, you're doing yourself harm and wrong. You should watch every one of these videos and take notes, because I go over every minuscule detail, all of those ridiculous grouped and ungrouped TTs. I'm covering all of them. If you're studying for the exam, that is what I expect you to do. So if you haven't, take a look. Okay, take a look at that one. That's a snapshot. Business documents. A lot of people fly over it. They don't know what those are. But here I break down each one for you, step by step. Here's data gathering. The specific data gathering tools and techniques used in Develop Project Charter. I'm breaking them down for you. So it is very, very hard to ignore the constant detail that I'm giving you in all of these. Take a look. This is one process. One, Develop Project Charter, 11 minutes on one process. Now we've got 7 processes in the integration area, plus the intros. By the time you're done, you're spending a solid 3 to 4 hours on everyone, because you're watching, and then you're stopping and taking notes. You're watching, you're stopping and taking notes. Some of them, I even have these exam tips I give you. You see, that is how to study, folks. You got to go deep. You got to mine. You got to mine. I keep saying a lot of folks, they listen to the wrong advice. Don't listen to the wrong advice. Seriously, take what I'm showing you here. Take it seriously. Take it seriously, because this is how to study. You got to watch all the videos. So there's a video for every process, a video for every knowledge area in the intros, and then quizzes at the end of each one, and some stinking mock exams. Just horrible, horrible. One of my students that had been ignoring my plea for years, I told him, please take the mock exams. Phil, I'm too busy. When he finally listened, after failing 3 times, he passed it on his 4th try. He took those mock exams, and he learned the hard way that you should take mock exams when your buddy Phil tells you to. He was, of course, cussing and swearing when he was taking them, because like, this dumb mock exam, why is he making me do this? Then he would fail it. Then he would get mad. But he knew that I had told him the only way out is for you to take these mock exams to find the gaps. So he did. After taking the mock exams from below target, needs improvement, what did he go to? 3 above targets. This is someone who got lots of belows and needs improvements on his other tries. You see, you got to watch the videos and then you got to take all, don't take any shortcut, take all of those mocks seriously, all the mocks. Some students sign up for the LMS and they take 1 mock. Are you kidding me? You're playing Russian roulette with your success. Take all the mocks, okay? And then, as far as the quizzes are concerned, as far as all the quizzes, this is step 5. You want to take all of those quizzes, every single one. Leave none of them alone. All 5, I mean, all, not 5, all, more like 30, all 30 quizzes. Take all the quizzes. We've got the main quizzes. We've got the 2020 quizzes. We've got the challenge quizzes. And each of these have knowledge area quizzes in them for each knowledge area. And this has chapters 1 to 13. So by the time you're done, you've taken a bunch of quizzes. You've got 3 mocks and 1 50-question mock. So Tyra, I'm showing you all of this because I cannot recommend any other system because I do not know how they work and the reliability of them. All I can say is follow the building blocks, step by step by step. It is only when you follow these blocks that we can find the gaps. Like the student I told you about, who talked about a strikeout, we did this process and we followed a lot more than this. I gave him a lot more things to do, but we were able to narrow everything down, close the gaps. He was doing well on the mocks. He felt good to go. He went and he got 4 ATs after failing 4 times. So I want to encourage you, Tyra, you can do this. We just need to get you on the right program that gives you the right nourishment, you see? Because I know you've been on some of the accelerated programs. Sometimes the accelerated program is not what you need at a particular point. You need the details, the dregs, you know, you need the serial, and then you can then go to the solid stuff. So I think my recommendation would be to build from scratch a block at a time, especially when there has been, you know, a misalignment in actual versus planned, you know, or expected versus actual. Oh, I expected to do this, but this is the outcome. There's a disconnect and we need to find what that is. And the only way is doing a root cause analysis from the ground up, bit by bit, step by step. You know, watch the videos, read the book, bit by bit, you know. You can actually make this a project, and let me show you what I'm talking about. You can make this a project and you can have milestones and goals and focus on those. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Some people may think it's overkill. No, it's not. It's not overkill. This is not overkill. You know, this is what anyone getting ready for the PMP exam should do. You know, you should have a schedule. You should have a schedule you're adhering to. And you should make sure all the milestones are hit. Mock exam 1 complete, mock exam 2 complete, item 1 complete, item 2 complete. That's how you need to address this stuff. So I know I've been answering your question for like forever, but I know I told you and I would talk, and now is a good time to do that. So very basic schedule, but I think this will give you an idea of how serious it needs to get. It needs to get this serious, this serious. You need to have this in your crosshairs. You need to. This, you're going to have to build a schedule. Build a schedule. Or maybe even get more visual with it. Get more visual with it. Go into MS Project. Build your big old Gantt chart. Track it like you would track a project. Get serious with it. Seriously. This is what you need to do. And in so doing, you're going to make sure that every single item is addressed. Every single chapter. You could even make your subtasks, the different processes. I'd go that crazy. I would, you know. So that's what I suggest, Tyra. I hope that helps. And I hope that gives you some inspiration about what to do next. Okay. All right. So thank you very much for the question, Tyra. I really hope this helps. Let me answer a question from our friend here, Daryl. Daryl says, at what point before the exam do I cover the formulas? Do you mean at what point do I cover the formulas, or is it at what point do you study the formulas? Tell me what you're thinking, Daryl. I'm sorry, I missed the flow of thought. I missed that. All right, I see one of our friends on the call. Let me unmute so that we can talk to our friend here. So we got Dara, how you doing, Dara? And we've got a 586 number. Let me unmute that and see who's here. I'm gonna unmute you for a second. Hello, who's on the phone?
Yeah, this is Dara. Hi, Phil.
Ah, how you doing, Dara?
Yeah, how are you?
So tell me, what's your location? I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback from I need to mute my thing here. All right, so tell me, where are you calling from?
I'm in Michigan.
Michigan, gotcha, good. So you've been on this channel for a while, man. How you doing?
Good.
Nice. So are you a PMP yet?
Not yet. I'm hoping to take it sometime next month.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So remind me, did you get on the 14-day mentoring thing, or am I mixing you up with someone else?
Yes, I am I'm doing that process now.
Nice.
Yes.
So you're following the step-by-step, opening up the book, going through the details. Very, very good. Good.
Yes.
Do you have any other question like that you haven't asked previously that I can help?
Yeah, I would like to take the mock exam. What is the process that I go get it from your site?
Gotcha. Very good question. So let me show you. When you go to the Praizion site, just Praizion.com. I'm sharing that right now. When you go to Praizion.com, the menu, the training menu is where all the stuff is, okay? So if you go to the training menu and you hover over PMP and CAPM exams, you'll see 3 200-question full-length tough PMP mock exams. That one. If you click on that, that will take you to the page, scroll down, and there's the sample test, but this is the button where you want to buy the stuff.
Okay.
And I'll just say on your calendar, block aside 4-hour chunks where you're going to do each one of these 4-hour blocks. because they do take some time, and also the outcome, to be able to review the outcome, to give yourself enough time to review the outcome. You also want to do that. So, yeah.
So if I ask you one question, so what would you say if I take, what score would you say I'm ready to go?
Great question. So it's got a passing score. If you take the marathon mock, if you get a 60% on the marathon mock, I believe it is, that makes you pass the exam. But other than the marathon mock, we also have the PMP challenge mock. That's a 70. And then we have the 2020 vision mock. That's a 70 as well. They're all kind of equal scale, but the marathon mock, we have heard from students that the marathon mock is more like the real exam. So if you pass that, I'll be singing praises for you for next month.
All right, thank you, Phil.
Hey, you're welcome. All the best on the exam.
All right, thank you.
Cool. All right. So any other questions? So Daryl said 5 days before the exam, at what point should you study the formulas? Let's break down this formula talk. Let's break it down, Daryl, because honestly, I think they overestimate the formulas, to be honest. They give the formulas too much recognition. I'm not saying you are, I'm just saying people in general. So I'm going to help you out with this. So when you break down the formulas, let's do it one by one. In integration, seriously, the only formula that you get here, when you really boil it down, is your NPV, which is the sum of the PVs. And then when you boil that down, you're really talking about your future value divided by, that is really what you're talking about, this formula being applied. So there's really no big deal when it comes to the integration formula. And Daryl, I just point you to the page that I'm talking about in the study guide. So if you go to your PDF study guide, the page for these formulas, this is on page 79 of the study guide. This is not in the PMBOK guide, all right? So all this talk about NPV, so on and so forth, that is one formula, all right? Let's go to the next knowledge area, scope. There's no formula in scope, okay? Schedule. The only formulas you should be thinking about is MOP divided by 3 and MOP, 4 MOP divided by 6. Of course, pluses, okay? Pluses, all right? You got your beta, you got your triangular, and you got your P minus O divided by 6. And then you've got your P minus O divided by 6, your variance, your standard deviation, and your variance. And that is in schedule management. That is talked about in chapter 6. So if you go to page 233 of the book, you find sufficient examples there. All right. So if you're taking a look at schedule management, it's pretty much those formulas, right? And then, of course, late start minus early start, if you're using the critical path, or late finish minus early finish for your total float, right? And then if you're doing your project float or project slack, it's the customer required due date minus your project end date for your project slack. Okay? And then for your free slack, what is it? I'm hoping that as I'm going through this stuff, you're saying, oh, I know that. Oh, yeah, if you know that and the formula is right there in your head, you're doing the right thing. I expect you to be able to follow along logically and say, yeah, that makes sense, that makes sense. So for free slack, it's your early start of your successor minus the early finish of the task in question. Okay, that's your free slack. All right, and honestly, that's pretty much it for schedule. I don't really think there's anything more to it other than applying that and understanding the critical path. Now, when it gets to cost, that's where some folks say, oh, there's a lot more. But when you boil it down, it's really just your SPI, your SV, your CPI, your CV. These could get you tons of marks on the test. Okay. Now, what I usually recommend is that you put one S and one V together. So SPI and CPI, put those together. So let's rearrange them. SPI and CPI, CV or SV and CV, put them together. And then it becomes easier for you to remember the formula, right? If it's a variance, you subtract. I'll use red. You subtract if it's a variance. You divide if it's an index. They all start with earned value. Earned value is king. They all start with EV, right? And just remember the acronym, children eat a lot, hence your AC. Children eat a lot, your AC. And someone else's problem, PV. Someone else's problem. Just remember the mnemonic, someone else's problem. And in that way, you get all of these down. This is like one of the, when people first start studying this, they say, oh, it's so difficult. But no, just remember someone else's problem, children eat a lot, boom, you get that. And then the next thing you want to think about is your EACs. Your EAC, if you remember the overarching formula for EAC is AC plus ETC. The question is which ETC? Now, if you know how to take that ETC, play around with it, this is a cakewalk. See, this ETC is different things in different scenarios. This ETC can be looked at as BAC minus EV. That is one picture of this. The other picture of this, and this one, let me just do it properly. This one, budget at completion minus earned value. This right here is based on the work remaining being as budgeted. So if you don't expect any further surprises, you use that for your ETC, you see? The other one would be this. This would be your BAC minus EV divided by your CPI. You use this where you expect cost to be constant across the board. See? So right off the bat, you've got one, the overarching EAC formula, which is used for work being calculated from the bottom up. So a brand new bottom up ETC, you would use this formula. But if your work remaining is being performed as budgeted, it will then become this one, EAC, come back, EAC equals AC plus BAC minus EV. See that? And then, like I said, if the condition is a constant CPI into the future, then you get AC plus BAC minus EV divided by CPI. But all of that is going to be reduced to, this is all going to be reduced to BAC divided by CPI. That is how they get the formula. If you solve it down, and I don't want to go into all that because of time, but that is pretty much what you get. So you just get BAC divided by CPI. And then the last one is when you take this formula and then you say the ETC is BAC minus EV divided by SPI times CPI. But just remember, we're talking cumulative here, cumulative, okay? Even this over here as well is cumulative. If you can remember those, you're done with your EACs, you're done with your EV formulas. That's pretty much majority of the battle right there for many people. And then you go into the next area. Of course, you know, you got your variance at completion. And remember, B comes before E. So B comes first. BAC minus EAC is your variance at completion. Your TCPI, just remember this formula right here, this little thing right here, this BAC minus EV, this right here is a very useful formula piece you want to hang on to, because that is also used, you probably notice it, used in TCPI. It's really your work remaining. So BAC minus EV is your work remaining divided by your funds remaining. That's it. And this is based on the BAC. But what happens if management decides to be nice and give you more money based on a rebaseline, for example? You get your TCPI based on your EAC, and that then becomes the same thing at the top. And then EAC, since management is giving you more money, boom, you got your two TCPIs. You got to know what these mean. Of course, as you study, you know what those mean. But that's it, Daryl. That's the major crux. So when people say formulas on the exam, it doesn't amount to anything much more than those formulas, you know. And then you go into quality, really just know your Six Sigma number. Know that, know what it means, okay? Resource management is really nothing much here. I would expect basic computations of resource, highly skilled resource, less skilled, if that. Communications, of course, your number of channels formula, your number of channels formula, n times n minus 1 divided by 2. That's it. Okay. And then your risk management area. Just remember, it's your probability times impact to give your EMV. Make sure you know how to solve these decision trees. Make sure you know how to apply that initial investment and whatever outcomes ensue. In other words, that page in the PMBOK guide where they talk about decision trees, make sure you know that. And we'll talk about that in class. But procurement is just going to be basic math. Don't go off on a rabbit trail trying to do the goofy point of total assumption. You don't need to do that. Forget that. And then that's it. That is pretty much all of your formulas. That is pretty much the gamut of the exam when it comes to formulas. So, I hope you can go back, take a look at that, and get some ideas, So Daryl, that is what I would do. I don't think anything more than a day or two at worst. If it's 5 days to the exam, I'll say 1 day is enough. You saw how we got through this in about 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. That's what you need to do. Just go through them. Hopefully you've already been taking all of the problems. So all the problems in the book, if you go through the problems in the book, the problem is a lot of my students, they don't open every single page. Open every page, take all of the quizzes, go through the entire thing. You'll be extremely happy you did. That's how to do it. That's how to do it. Shri says, so you can get anywhere from 5. Actually, Shri, it's anywhere from, I hate to put a label on it, but I'll say it's anywhere from 1 or 2 to up to maybe 20. You could get up to 20 on the exam from the feedback that I've kept my ear to the ground listening to over the past number of years. Some students say, Phil, what a waste of my life doing all these ridiculous formulas. And on the flip side, I had one particular student from the Army Corps. He knows who he is. But one of my students from the Army Corps said, Phil, I think you need some adjustment in how you teach the exam. You gave me the impression I wouldn't get that many formula questions. I had 20, Phil, 20 formula questions. And a number of them were from earned value. You told me I might get 1 or 2. Well, I got a boatload of earned value, and I'm only grateful that you taught earned value so well, because that's why I was able to tackle them. But if you hadn't taught earned value so well and you told me I would only get like a handful of formula questions, I probably would have failed. He was not happy at all. He was not a happy bunny. But I learned my lesson, and now I really do avoid giving people prescriptive, oh, just 3 questions can be expected. No. I don't know what you're going to get. You could get, but on average, I've heard 3. So if we're going to draw the curve, the lower end would be 3. The mid end would be around 7, but I'd say 3 is like the lowest. 5, 6, 7, I've heard a lot of people, more people go on that end. And then on the higher end, also on the other end of the curve, I've heard people say up to 20, like this student that was really upset, visibly shaken and upset. He actually called me to tell me I needed to train, I needed to train differently. Don't tell people they can only get 1 question. So I don't want to be prescriptive. I've learned my lesson, anything can happen on the PMP exam, anything. So that's my 2 cents. Any other questions from our friends? Any other concerns? Oh, Farana, how you doing? How you doing? Tyra, I missed that chat. I think absolutely, Tyra. We need to get you on those mock exams. Puneet, don't worry. You're coming in a couple of weeks. We'll get you in ship shape. We'll get you in ship shape. Yep, absolutely. Yep. So Puneet, you're taking your exam in January. Shri is taking it in January as well. Hey, Dustin, what's up? How you doing, my buddy? Dustin says, can you talk about why and when to use this? Hey, Paul. Paul is my guru. When you talk about a boss in the building, I'm telling you, Paul is one of my bosses from way back when. Paul, I wish you could come on and drop just 1 minute of gold. Did you see that we've got a Zoom going on as well? If you look up in the chat, let me type it in. Paul is one of my bosses. talk about someone leading the charge. Talk about someone leading the charge for his company. He's a boss. He got certified and he's created all sorts of artifacts and useful documents and useful information, not because he's on the journey anymore, but because he wants to help people who are on the journey. Paul, much respect. Paul said, "Hi, Phil, I stumbled across your live talk while checking my LinkedIn. I have an Excel spreadsheet programmed with, all the EVM formulas." Oh, dear, that would be so kind of you, Paul. If you could shoot me a link, no worries, Paul, but it's great to have you on. If you could shoot me a Google Drive link or just any link, I would be more than happy to share that with folks. But much respect, and I really appreciate what you're doing for folks at Bio. I really appreciate what you're doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some great results. Actually, Mickey took the mock exam, passed the mock exam a couple of days ago, so I was happy to see that. And I'm hoping that everyone else who's on the journey is really going to put your great resources to awesome use, Paul. So thank you for joining, and much respect. That's a boast. That's a boast right there. You know, a lot of my students, they say, "Oh, Phil, I really appreciate you. See you later." They're off the bus, never to be seen again. I don't even see their rear view, their taillights. They're not even looking in the rear view mirror to see, is their buddy Phil coming behind? No, 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 they're gone. They're gone into the land of making the Billies and the Millies, making the Benjamins. It's all good, but I appreciate you, Paul. Thank you very much. So, Paul, do you know where people are in the process? Because, Joe also took the mock exam. I believe he took the mock exam today, Joe L. So, you know, follow up with these folks, see how they're doing. We're going to be sending them their certificates of completion soon. But Paul, I really appreciate what you're doing. You know, we talk about you a lot and how you've been able to help people, you know, in your firm. So thank you very, very much. And I'm really looking forward to people, you know, actually, Paul, you know, for a lot of these folks, the 25th, tomorrow, that was meant to be their end date. So no wonder people are scrambling for the mock exam. All right, so Dustin, let's talk about Dustin's question. So can you talk about why and how to use the zero? That question is making me laugh. Oh, dear. You are cracking me up with that question. Why should you use the zero? No, let's bring some characters in here. How dare you use the zero method? You're not allowed to. You must use the one or you will be in trouble. Thank you, Paul. Paul has very kindly shared a link. Let us enable it. So Paul is sharing that with, oh my goodness. He is sharing a very valuable tool with you right here. Wow. Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Paul, and I'm very grateful for you sharing this. And I hope that this will help our friends on the call. Look at it. It's very, very detailed. It's a very detailed. Actually, you know what, Paul? This is actually good for anyone trying to implement EV, you know, in their PMO. Anyone just trying to get into EV in their PMO. This just demystifies it for a lot of people. So this is very helpful. So thank you for sharing that. And a lot, you know, Paul is from an engineering background, by the way. So if you go into his document and you are a bit fearful, that's why. He's from that background. He's from that side of the world, the side of the mechanical. Okay, let me share his spreadsheet. Hold on. Those of you who are in the webinar, I'm going to share the link with you. Thanks for asking. Okay, here we go. So if you go to this link, let me share what I'm looking at. Let me share what I'm looking at. So Yeah, here's Paul's spreadsheet. It's very detailed. You see that? So it's got all the formulas and it's got the rationale. It's got the rationale and you got live examples. You see? Live examples. See? I wish I could ask Paul to demo it, maybe on another call, Paul. Maybe what we'll do when we get our first PMP from bio, we'll just maybe have a call again, and maybe you can demo this sheet. Maybe by then where you can actually get audio, something to that effect. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I hope this is of value to some of those folks trying to get their arms around EVM. All right, so there you go. Very, very good. Thank you, Paul. Okay, Dustin. Dustin, let's take a look at your humorous question. Very, very interesting question. I know you didn't intend it to be so, but it is. Okay, here's the question again. Okay. So the question again, Paul said that was the goal. Don't study for an exam. Oh, okay. Oh, nice. So Paul said the main aim of that document is not to necessarily study for the exam, but it's about preparing to use it in the real world. Very nice. Thank you, Paul. Yeah, I look forward to doing that. Absolutely. It'll be very nice to have you on, and your very structured method that you've used to guide your team to study for the exam, that will be very, very helpful as well. Okay, so Dustin, your question is cracking me up because we were talking about the zero method and the one method earlier. So can you talk about why and when to use the zero method? I know how, I just don't know why. Why would you use the zero? Why would you use the one? I only use the one, but I see others using the zero. So let's go to the whiteboard. Let's jump on the whiteboard right away. And let me give you some ideas, some thoughts. So when you take a look at the one method, let's take a look at the one method. Let's use a very simple, simple project where you've got A and B, So you got A and B. A is a 5-day project, and B is, let's say, a 3-day project. All right, let's do a forward pass, just a forward pass, okay? So we start at 1. What goes in here? Because you've been doing this for a while, you know that what goes in there doesn't need any addition. You basically take that number and you stuff it in there. That's for the first task. That's really what happens. But the convoluted calculation will tell you to say 1 plus 5 minus 1. And those cancel. You still get a 5 in there, you see. But it's kind of counter, because a lot of people who are used to doing these calculations think, okay, I start on day 1. If it's a 5-day, then this will be 6. But that's not the case, you see. Anyway, so, and then what happens? This, you end on day 5. What day do you start? What day do you start? You see where it gets a little bit weird? Do you start on day 6? 6, 7, 8. So again, I'm going to add a 3 and subtract a 1. It gets a little bit convoluted for me personally. Actually, what we should do, you know what? Because I don't mess around with the one method. I just use the 0 because, let me show you why. Because if I was going to manipulate the data, it is easier for me. It is easier for me to say, okay, it's like a ruler. Why do people use the 0 method? It's like a ruler. This is like a 0 point, and this is like the end. It is, in my mind, it's very easy to say, I'm starting at 0. 0 plus 5 is 5. And I just move this without any drama or fanfare. okay? I move that. And then I have a 5. And I add this. And then I have a 3. Now, I do need to remember that this is lacking a 1. If someone says, what day of the week do you finish? Or what day? Is it day 1, day 2, all that stuff. But those questions are few and far between. Typically, it will be your slack. What is your slack? What is your slack or float, be it total or free, or project? So in that way, for me, it is a lot quicker to go through a network diagram and put all these values in, Dustin, for me personally, because I don't have to mess around with the -1s. I don't have to. I can very quickly get done with a forward pass, very quickly get done with a backward pass, and I don't need to think about the -1. Now, in the real world, the 1 method is more real world, but it is really cumbersome for me personally. Do I know how to normalize my data flow diagrams that are 0 method? Of course. If I wanted to normalize it, I could get it back to normal. I could get it back to normal easily. And how do you normalize a 0 method network diagram? It is so easy. Let's take a look at this, Dustin, because I think this will help you. Let's take a look at the one in here, okay? So Dustin, if you're taking a look at chapter 6 in here, and you're taking a look at PMI's famous, or should I say infamous, to those 0 method users, the infamous example on page 211 that throws people for a loop. Why do they use 1? Okay, so if we look at that one, let me show you what's going on here. Just follow along. So let's take a look at PMI's famous example. All right, so we've got a duration of 5, 5, 15. So this is 5, this is 5, this is 15, and this is 10. All right. So let us very quickly, it is so ridiculously easy to use a 0 method for this. All right, so early start, boom, 0. Okay, for the first one, for A, this is A, this is B, this is C, this is D. Okay, early start, boom, 0. Add the 5, put the 5 in here, add the 5, get 10. Take the 5 down here, 15. What goes in there? 15. What goes in there? 30. Backward pass, 30. 30 minus 15, 15. Put the 15 here, get a 10. Put the 15 here, get a 5. Move the smallest one in here, boom, end of story. If that was the 1 method, I'd be doing the gymnastics. Okay. 1 plus 5 minus 1. You see, this is where it gets really, so let's go back to the PMI example using the 1 method, okay? Let's do the same thing. Let me show you the excruciating pain someone like me would go through, okay? Someone said, Phil, you need to think less linearly. I'm not. It's just the truth. It's a bit of a tussle here for me to do all that mental jumping around. Why, as Einstein said, why do I need to fill my head with such things when I can easily look them up? Why do I need to struggle with the 1 method when I can easily convert my 0 method? Why do I need to do that? I don't need to. I don't want to waste my bandwidth doing all the jumping around of +1, -1. But this is how it works. So using the 1 method, this is a 5. This is a 5. This is a 15. And this is what? A 10. Okay. So for me, using a 1 method. Okay, put a 1. What am I going to do? I'm going to add 5. So it's this plus 5 minus 1. This plus 5 would go here, but you have to minus 1 from it. So it's like saying 1 plus 5 minus 1. That is where that is where my problem starts. But let's go ahead and put a 5 there. We know that's a 5. Okay. Now, what goes in here? It's not as simple as putting the 5. You got to say what goes in there is 5 plus 1. Why did you make me subtract a 1 if I'm going to add a 1 again? So I'm being a bit dramatic, I know. Just bear with me. I put a 6 in there, right? What goes in here? Oh, it's a 6 plus 5 minus 1. In other words, 11 minus 1 to get 10. Okay. Okay. By this point, I'm already pulling my hair out. So 6 plus 5, the duration, minus 1 to get 10. Okay. As if that wasn't painful enough, what goes in here? Okay, we don't know what goes in here yet. Let's go down below. What goes in here? 5 plus 1, 6. What goes in here? 6 plus 10 minus 1, 15. You see how clumsy this is becoming? And then at the end of the day, what goes in here? It's not this. It's not this. It is this plus 1. Oh, give me a break. 16. And then what goes in here? Oh, it's 16 plus 15. Oh, don't forget minus 1. You see how unwieldy this is becoming? It's very distressing to the poor student. I mean, for me, the poor student could use time looking at this and saying, okay, what is the overarching difference between a 0 and a 1 diagram? It's in this. You see what I'm doing here? It's in this. It's like saying, add 1 to that. Add 1 to this to make it 6. Add 1 to this to make it day 1. And add 1 to this to make it 6. Boom. That is the difference between the 0 and the 1. I just need to add the 1 to my 0 diagram to get it to be what the PMI have in that infamous diagram. You see, that is the difference. So if you take a look at page 211 and take a look at what I have now updated my diagram to. What did it? Okay, so we put a 1 here as well. Yeah, you're going to have 1s at the bottom too. So you got to do the top and the bottom. That will be a 1. That will be a 1. That will be a 6. Top and bottom will be the same. That will be a 6. But at the end of the day, you take a look at both. It's like, what's the fuss? What's the fuss? I mean, adding the 1s and the subtraction of the 1s, Dustin, sorry to be so dramatic, but it just makes me scratch my head and say, why not just use the 0 and update everything to the 1? Instead of killing people with add 1, oh, you forgot minus 1. Oh, no. What goes in here is not, it's too much for me, seriously. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. But I found the question very comical, but it's a very good question. Let me show you this, Dustin. You can actually get a video that's out there on YouTube. If you go to this video, you can actually take a look at this in a little bit more detail. I go into it in more detail in this video here. This video, PMP network diagrams, critical path. Actually, this one right here, this one, critical path 0 method or 1 method. Click on that and you'll be able to watch it. So anyway, that's that. And I will also share it with everyone else on the call, just so if you wanted to watch it, you could. There we go. Boom. All right. So Dustin, great question. And that is why. The reason why people use it is because it's easy to manipulate the data. At the end of the day, if you wanted to convert it, you just add 1 to the top, +1 for all of them, +1. Boom, before you know it, you're done. Anyway, that's just me. I know that if you did learn the one method, it's hard to appreciate the 0. The one method is more real world, but I just wish you didn't have so much hoops and jumps, because in the hoops and jumps of the 1 or the not 1, the 1 or the -1, that's where people just get lost. So it's convoluted, it's real world, it's on day 1, it's on day 2, it's what you see is what you get, but the brain power that you waste doing that, I'd rather use it doing something else. All right, so Paul said, Shri asked Paul a question. How much of your PMP knowledge will you use? He's been using it. Paul says, I use what I learn every day. There you go. Even though I'm not actually a PM in my current role, the basics are what have been really valuable for me. Thank you, Paul. He says, always keep in mind what we are doing on a project, why we are doing it, and make sure that my project is adding value. Boom. Do you know what page that is in the PMBOK guide? You guys know what page Paul has just summarized for you guys. This is on page 6. This one in the PMBOK guide, that page 6, he just summarized. Need to be adding value, taking your organization from current state to future state. Very good. Well, I do want to thank all of you guys for your questions. There's one more from Devon here. If we get one of those questions on the exam, will it stay? No. So here's the logic. I'm glad you asked the follow-on question, Dustin. Here is the logic. Here's the logic. Okay. So if I got this on the exam, yeah? If I got this question on the PMP exam, I wish I could strip it of everything I just did, because it won't let me. No, I cannot undo. I wish I could. Oh, I can. Let me undo this stuff. All right, good. So let me go back to normal. Okay. So, Dustin, if I got this on the PMP exam, okay, what do you think the question would be? There's not too many things that the question could be. Let's explore what the question, because you got A, B, C, and D. The question could be this. What is, you could get what is the critical path? You could get that. What is the critical path? You could get what is slack in C. And when they give a question like that, they leave it hanging. They don't tell you free slack. They don't tell you total slack. The trick in those instances, one of the answers will be either free or total, but you wouldn't find both. So you might find free and not total. You might find total and not find free. That is how those, I'm not saying PMI per se, but question writers, that's some of the tricks. Or you could have what is straight up, they could ask you straight up, what is the total float? Of course, they're used interchangeably. Or they could ask you, what is the free slack or free float? Same thing. Of an activity, they could say of A, or total float of B. Or they could say slack on A, B, H, D. By the way, this is the critical path in the question. Slack on that is what? Then you have to know, oh, that's the critical path. On the critical path, slack is 0. So even though it sounds like arbitrary, random, oh, yeah, it's 0. So I don't even need to calculate anything, that kind of thing. Or you could be asked, on what day do you finish? Okay, on what day do you finish, let's say, a task? On what day do you finish a task? All of these that I'm showing you, every single one of them, the one method has no bearing. The zero method has no bearing. It's a question that you can use either the 0 or the 1 to answer. All of these things I'm showing you. What is critical path? It's the same. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look. What is the critical path using the 0 method? 30. What is it using the 1 method? 30. What is the slack? Let's take 1, for example, where you've got the top and the bottom values. So in the PMBOK guide, in PMI's example, on page 211, you got a 6 and you got an 11 here, and then you've got a 15. So if you do the subtraction, 11 minus 6 is 5, 15 minus 10 is 5. You come here, same thing, you get 5. You get exactly the same total slack. So the 1 and the 0, they don't make any difference as far as all of these questions. Now, if you do get a question that says, on what day do you start an activity? At that point, if you're on the 0, you need to make a conversion. On what day do you start an activity, for example? So if you get that, at that point, you need to be like, oh, wait a minute. Theoretically speaking, it's day 0, but in reality, it's day 1. Or you could get, is it a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? So what day do you start an activity? You know, you could get day of the week, or you could get numeric. And it really depends. It depends on you. It depends on what you want. Okay? Does that help? I hope that helps, Dustin. So, you know, that is why I choose the 0 over the 1, just because of ease of use. You know, like in quality, we talk about ease of use. When we're talking about managed quality, design for X, I design for ease of use. So it's not that one cannot teach the 0 method. It's just that I feel sorry for the poor student having to battle with the goofy 1s and -1. Shri says we can just use 0 method on the exam to avoid any confusion. Absolutely, you can. You know, you can. Just remember, if I get a question that says what day of the week or when does it start, that's the only time. But all of those other scenarios I showed you, yeah, you know. And the PMI know. Let me read for you, you know. There's so much to share, but there's not enough time to do it all on one call. You know, I think we've been going hard at this stuff for going to 2 hours now. But if I was going to read this, it says, note, this example, this page 211, notes, this example uses the accepted convention of the project starting on day 1 for calculating start and finish dates. There are other accepted conventions that may be used. So the PMI know that there are many other ways to skin this question about the critical path. You can use a number of other ways, but use what you're comfortable with is all I'll say. For me, that's it. All right, well, Dustin is another of our students. Puneet, you and Dustin are going to be in the same class, so you'll cross your paths again. Those of you who have not signed up, I've been extremely lenient on my friends who have not taken action. Those of you who have not taken action like Puneet and Dustin have, and you're pulling your hair out, you know what to do. You need to go to pmsucceed.com, PMSucceed.com. Let me just give you a quick reminder here. Those of you who were a little bit busy with your turkey or leftovers, oh dear, from Thanksgiving, you probably missed the deal. PMSucceed.com. PMSucceed, PMSucceed.com. Go there. There's some hidden gold for those of you. Hey, this is not for everyone. It's for those who are really ready to burst the door down and get certified, like put in some mega effort. If you hit the Power Review menu, you hit that menu, we've got this boot camp coming up on the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th. Now, this is the secret. This will probably be the last time I put out a video about it. But just so you know, at the moment, this boot camp, which should have been $1,000, is going for just $250. It's obscenely ridiculous. If you don't sign up for this, I don't know what you're going to sign up for. $250. 250, not even pounds. I wish I could change that sign to pounds and get some Lizzie notes in there. Get some Winston notes in there instead. No, no, no. I've made it just so affordable. It's ridiculous. So those of you who mean business, this is going to $4.99. Just know that's where it's going. Sign up now, okay? Sign up. The real price for this thing should be $1,000. Do a search on the web. Seriously, do a search on the web. Find out how much 4-day PMP training, 4-day PMP exam training, not even accelerated, not even a boot camp that will boot you, challenge you. So those of you that haven't signed up like Puneet and Dustin have, I don't know what you're waiting for. You should have done this like yesterday. You better do it now, because before long, it should have actually gone to $4.99. It's like the web people need to do this like now. In fact, once I get off the call, I'm going to look into this being changed. Take action, folks. Seriously, take action, because you don't typically find an 18-hour boot camp for $250. It's ridiculous. But it's a Black Friday deal, and I want to help our friends on the channel, people who are trying to get certified, okay? So don't miss a beat. Do what you need to do to assure your success. It's kind of like risk management, you know, risk management. You do your risk transfer. Your risk transfer is like making sure you've got that cushion. A lot of people don't have any insurance. Your insurance is this. You want to make sure that everything possible is done to assure you of success. All right. You spent too much money. Let's even forget the money. Let's do this quick calculation, this really quick calculation. Think about it. Think about it. The project manager some people spend up to 200 hours. Multiply those 200 hours times, not 5, but 50, or those of you who are making a boatload, multiply it by your $200 an hour. Anything in that range is crazy anyway. Someone says, Phil, it's 10, even if it's $10 an hour, that is $2,000 that you want to throw into the gut. Even if you're making $10 an hour, you want to throw $2,000 away, because that's how you're playing with your money. If you've been preparing for the exam, go all the way. Go all the way. When you see a $250 boot camp for 18 hours and you're still umming and ahhing and thinking, what more can I do? Anyway, enough said. Shri says, Paul, do you have any suggestions on handling stress during the exam? Shri, you've not seen my videos? Let me show you this. I don't know if you have. Let me share this with you. So I tell folks there's almost no topic on the PMP exam that is not covered on our channel. Seriously, I mean, almost every topic under the PMP sun has been covered. So Shri, let me share my desktop with you. See this? Dealing with test anxiety. That's a video you can watch. And then 10 tips if your PMP is tomorrow, but let me get that. And let me share it with you in chat. Oops, yep. And let me share it with everyone on the live call on YouTube. So Shri, go take a look at that. And there's one more set of videos, Shri. I have an entire set of videos on Facebook. I don't believe they are on YouTube anymore, but on Facebook, I have some videos. Let me go search. I have some videos on, and these are very detailed videos on the difficulties people face on the PMP exam. Oh, it's called Strategies for Passing the PMP exam, a 40-minute lesson. This is pretty cool. Strategies for passing the PMP exam. Okay. So let me share what I'm looking at with you. So take a look at that. That's on this right here, and this is on my Facebook page. See? So if you go into videos under my Facebook page, you got these videos that are very, very helpful. I did this a while back, and they actually do address some of these questions you've raised. Let me see if I can copy that. See that? This is a very detailed breakdown. Tyra, you might want to take a look as well. See that? Take a look. I think those videos will help anyone who's getting ready for the exam. So let me chat those in as well. Very, very good question, Shri. If you didn't ask that, I wouldn't have shared it. See? That's why it's helpful to ask these questions. Very, very helpful to ask these questions. Okay. All right. So I'm going to chat that in. There we go. All right. Well, I hope that works, Shri. I haven't tested out the link. Says, do you want to leave YouTube? Yep, that's it. That will give you a lot of guidance that you need. Okay. All right. Well, I didn't mean to hijack your entire Saturday, but I really appreciate you joining, staying with me. It's about that time we need to shut it down. I need to go get myself some lunch. Oh, more like dinner. All right. Well, thanks for joining. I appreciate you, and I'll be speaking to you guys again very, very soon. All right. I hope that gave you the answers that you wanted. Thank you, Gerard, and look forward to seeing you taking those mock exams. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Well, I'm going to be stopping the live stream. Thanks, folks. Take care.